Good morning. I'm Bill Zortman, and welcome to It's Your Business, show number 3573 in our It's Your Business series. Hope each of you had a joyful Christmas with your family and friends that we can take this week to help you close out 2021. It was good to get away with Mrs. Zortman, see old friends for a week, and makes us appreciate our families, our lives, and to see old friends that we haven't seen in a long time. While away, the audience has trained me to look at what is going on business-wise, to, in essence, what we can learn from each other. Still, the confusion that was out there, they say, you're from the Dakotas? You must be North Dakota. No, we're South Dakota. But it's a little warmer there. But we're back, and why not start with our first guest, Tony Bachman, Tony Bachman team. He keynotes the real estate report card show that we do each month, and our first one will be on January 10th. Tony, good morning.
Good morning, Bill. TGIM. Thank God it's Monday, and here we go. We're just about to the end of 2021, and to your point about North Dakota and South Dakota, I think South Dakota's been pretty well established nationwide where South Dakota is. So I don't think there's too much discrepancy anymore about that.
Had a chance to spend some time with your team last Thursday, and you told me that you were preparing lots of notes for the show. Little did I know it was an avalanche.
Well, I was trying to be considerate to get you some notes before the show. Instead of an hour before, I got it to you at least close to 12 hours before the show. And like I said, you can cherry pick some of these, but yeah, there's a lot of interesting information that's happened over the last. I mean, yes, we're talking about 2021, but really what we're talking about is the change in what's happened in real estate and what's happening in our marketplace, not just our marketplace, but nationwide. You know, and that's really has had effect over the last 18 to 24 months. You know, we've had to change the way we do business.
Unusual year, and you put some numbers to it that kind of surprised me a little bit about the number of real estate agents there are across the country and where the four most populous real estate infested states are.
Yeah, so let's give you some perspective of how the number of licensed agents in the United States is 3 million active real estate licenses in the United States right now. So of that 3 million, 40% of those agents are located in California, Florida, Texas, and Arizona, which doesn't surprise me. I mean, you know, that's a lot of activity that's going on in those states. In comparison, South Dakota has like 2,230 agents, licensed agents.
And about
in South
half
Dakota.
of those are in Sioux Falls.
Yeah. And then, but when you go to like just our neighboring state of Minnesota, it's like 25,000 agents. I mean, just to kind of put perspective of it. But I also realize, you know, you're talking about population and that. But to your point, yeah, half of those are in our Rays real estate, you know, our Realty Association of the Sioux Empire. We have a little over 1,100 in there. So
average listing price, that was the number that you looked at nationwide, and we were seeing a lot of listings here that were 300,000 plus.
Right. Yeah. So nationwide, they'd said that the average listing price had risen 32% since March of 2020 to June of 2021. Well, I took just our MLS and I looked at from January of 2021, our average sales price was $230,000. Now, when we look at October of this year, 2021, our average sales price was $305,000. Which basically reflects about a 30% difference. So our trend here in the state or in our MLS is following pretty closely with the national trend.
Median days on the market. Now, you and I both grew up in this century with the real estate side, and if you did 30 days, you're doing pretty good. But now what is the average nationwide?
So that's for us, for our MLS, we recognize from the time of the day to the time that the house goes under contract or live on the marketplace till the time the house sells is what we consider days on market. So when I pull out November's stats for days on market for us is at like 74 days, which is really low because, you know, that's taken into account from the day it goes live to the day that it actually sells. Now, the stat that we're looking at that they had put out there is, you know, they were talking about median days before contract was 9.
That's 9 days.
9 days, which doesn't really surprise me because most of our listings that go on, you know, within basically, I agree. Within 9 days, it's under contract. I mean, in most cases, I have buyers saying, hey, this has been on the market for like 2 weeks. What's wrong with it? I mean, that's kind of the marketplace we've been in. And so, but some of the other MLSs look at it differently. They look at it from the time it goes live on the marketplace to the time it goes active contingent miscellaneous, meaning they've got an accepted offer. So that's where the difference in the days and numbers. But so the gist is we're still at an all-time low for days on market for our MLS.
Interest rate, pretty much at the bottom of the scale that you could ever expect.
Yeah. I mean, this year, I think at one point in time we had a 30-year rate. I mean, the average rate was like 2.68%. I mean, wow. I mean, amazing. But I also did some numbers here because they were talking about the median sales price for a home in the United States in 2021 has increased by 416% since 1980. And I know that, when you start talking about 1980 to 2021, I mean, that's kind of a big leap, but it's still, the perspective is, so if you had a home that was a $60,000 home back in 1980, that home is currently selling for probably somewhere around $225,000 to $260,000. So anybody who's owned their home for a long time, that's what they're talking about, equity and, how the power of, but the last 18, 24 months has had a big impact because here we've seen appreciations of 15+%. But also to bring a little bit of perspective to the interest rates you're talking about, the 30-year mortgage rate in 1980, the average was about 14%. Let that soak in for just a second.
Yeah.
Because now, I mean, we were at 2.68% for a low this year. We're probably somewhere around 3.1, 3.2% right now. They are still talking about, Federal Reserve has just put out a notice or a statement last week that just said, in 2022, we're looking at doing 3, increments of increasing interest rates. They weren't saying that to say, oh my gosh, the sky is falling, but they're just giving consumers a heads up saying, we're probably going to be looking at slowly, incrementally increasing interest rates a little bit. Right, wrong, or in between, it is what it is. And, we've been living in a very charmed life of low interest rates, but it's also created a little bit of a crisis. The low interest rates, there's a cause and effect here. Great, low interest rates, but it's also caused low inventory. Low inventory, then we get back to the supply and demand conversation. So when there is really low inventory, but there's high demand, guess what's happening? This is why we're seeing prices go, where they're at, and it's only worth what someone's willing to sell for, and it's only worth what someone's willing to buy it for. There seems to be a lot of people that are willing to pay that, that price tag for houses that are out there right now, even though, because they don't have a lot of choices.
The other surprise was the age group that is the most common as far as the home buying cohort, as you put it, in 2021. Tell us what age group that is, and the people are going to say, that Tony Bachman can't possibly be right.
Yeah, there was a couple different stats here. Now you caught me on guard.
Generation X.
Yeah, the Generation X, I mean, they basically were the largest home buying group, out there right now. They bought 1 of every 4 homes. So they were 25% of the market. And I think that the average age, I think if I'm remembering the stat right, it was somewhere around 34. The average age of a first-time home buyer was 34 years old. The average age of a move-up buyer to making a transition was like 56. So, and not that has a lot of credence, but it's just interesting to see that there's a lot of people who really realized the power of owning a home versus renting, because like we've had our past conversations, given our interest rates, if you're paying $1,800 a month in rent, you could potentially go out and buy a $325,000 home, or give or take a few $1,000s in that, and still be making the same payment, but you're owning your own home, and now you have the power of equity, and you have the power of being able to do tax deductions, from the interest that you're paying on that mortgage.
All right, in our marketplace, what are we seeing? Are we seeing that people are able to afford more house? We got all these people that are saying, gee, we need to come to South Dakota, not North Dakota. We need to come here because of all the activities that's going on. Are we finding that to be true?
I think there's a lot. South Dakota's been put on the map. I mean, COVID in a reverse way. I mean, COVID's been a negative thing, but for South Dakota, there's been a lot of people that have looked to South Dakota because we've maintained a certain standard of lifestyle, which is considered, relatively normal. Yes, we're concerned about COVID. Yes, we want to make sure that people are safe, but we haven't had a lot of, quote, shutdowns. And I think businesses and individuals have been looking really hard at this. We also have, when it comes to price points, we were pretty reasonable. I mean, when you go back, 18 months, I mean, our pricing was considerably less compared to some of the other areas of the nation. And then we've also had, blessed with some of the businesses that have come to town. I mean, obviously, when we talk about the building permits being over $1 billion, and we don't know how far over $1 billion that will end up, but I mean, that's pretty substantial. I mean, it's just about double in previous years, which means when you have businesses and people that are following those businesses, people are looking real hard at South Dakota.
The other discussion that intrigued me the other day when we had a chance to visit for a few hours, and that dealt with planning for the future. We're not always going to be at these numbers. These numbers can change.
Yep.
What kind of plans does your team have, should real estate people have, for when that bubble changes?
Yeah, I think the message, not only to my team, but to fellow agents and even some of our clients, is that just understand there's going to be a shift in the market. And with that shift, we've been living in a very cushy spot right now with low interest rates. And, and obviously it's been hard for some of the consumers, buyers, when they're under $300,000 trying to find a home. You've got, low inventory. So people have had to kind of struggle to find that right home or that niche home. But I think we as agents, and the thing I kind of was talking about with our team, is that you just need to be prepared, moving forward. You need to know your numbers. You need to know your stats. Just kind of stuff that we talk about here on a daily basis. And then also just take note of, where is your business coming from? And I think we've established that a large portion of our business comes from our sphere of influence, our friends, our family, people who we've done business with. I mean, if you've treated them like they've wanted to be treated, just like we all do when we have an experience, working with, whether we're buying a TV or whether we're buying a washer and dryer, whether we're, any sort of a consumer item. If you have a positive experience, you're more than likely to share that experience with your friend or family. And we've noticed that has had a big impact in our business. But we're also cognizant of the fact that it's a lot of people on social media that are out there, and they don't have they've moved in from out of town. They don't have any connections. So now they're just looking to, what's a voice or a face, or, what are they seeing? And so we get some calls, from that also. But I think our biggest, if I was to put basically 3/4 of our business, is attributed to our sphere of influence and people that we come into contact with.
Tony Bachman team, Keller Williams, appreciate your visit. We have a report card show in 2 weeks. Will you be ready?
Yeah, we'll be ready. Thank you.